Hey, welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways. There's our seagull friend for the morning, sitting on a piling. I like it when they sit on pilings because then they're not pooping on your boat. Yeah, you're a good bird right now. Sit on the piling. You getting ready to go? Let's stretch those wings. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about your environment and how your environment works with you, how you work with your environment. You know, we're in a tidal estuary here. Excuse me, the camera, I'm using a tripod this morning and it's not liking the dock boards. They're very uneven here. We live in a tidal estuary. We live in one of the tributaries of a tidal estuary. So this is a minor tributary to the Potomac River, way down at the mouth of the Potomac River. Basically, there's no water flow here. It's kind of almost stagnant, marshy, in a lot of places swampy. You know, the water depth here outside of dredged channels is often only 1 to 2 feet at low tide, with a tide range of around 1.5 feet. So there's just not a lot going on here. You don't swim in the water here, and there's not a lot to do boating here. Now, there's plenty of breeze this morning. This would be a great morning to have the dinghy out. You know, if you're out on a little 10, 12 foot, 14 foot dinghy sailing, it's going to rowing and sailing. It's going to be a ton of fun out here. This is a great morning for it. But if you're sailing, this is kind of a limited environment. You don't have a lot of places to anchor. You have no place to tie up and actually do anything like restaurants, shopping. There's very limited access that way. And that has an effect on how you go about using a boat or living aboard a boat or cruising a boat. That's just, it has an effect. Something to think about when you're doing live aboard. This is a wonderful place for a home port for us because we can leave for a couple of months and it's very inexpensive to keep the slip. And, we can come back and there's power, there's internet-ish. We can travel with internet now, thank you, Starlink. And there's, bathrooms and there's a safe place to tie up. And it's really, really well protected and out of these storm tracks. You're not going to have major issues with storms. So there's a lot of advantages to being here at times. It's not such a great place as a live aboard to never leave, like to live aboard and never go anywhere, unless you're working out here and you're out all day doing the 45-minute drive to the groceries, or you're in all day and you don't care about just going to get groceries once a week or something. There's ways to make this work, ways to make the environment a lot of fun. But it's not a cruiser oriented environment, and it's not a go out and do stuff oriented environment unless you like driving. And I happen to love driving, so I love driving and I love sailing, so it doesn't bother me. I'm not bothered by 2 hours, 3 hours to get out in the middle of the Potomac, except that I have to come back. If you can anchor out and stay away for 4 or 5 days, then there's no problem. This is perfect. We cruised down and saw some friends in Norfolk last week, and it was really fantastic. This past week, this is why I haven't done a video for a couple days. But it's a very different environment. You can go from marina to marina. There's dinghy docks. You can go take a dinghy from a marina that you're parked in and go across the bay, any of the 10 little bays or river mouths or whatever, and go shopping or go see a movie or something, come back and motor back across or row back across with your dinghy, and it's there. It's possible. It's something that you can do. You can go meet people for drinks or barbecue at a restaurant, at Tidewater, and then motor yourself back. There's a lot of that going on. It's very interesting how different it is. Of course, there's all the urban problems that go with that. There's more crime and more pollution even on the water, and there's just, way more people. So, it goes back and forth. And if you anchor out, then you have to dinghy in every day. You know, it comes and it goes. You can live all of it if your boat is mobile and you're cruising, because, well, that's how that works. You move when you feel like you want to move. And the nice thing about keeping a slip here in this marina is that you can do so inexpensively enough to come back and have your slip. That's never a problem. And I like that. I think that's very cool. They even have quarterly and annual plans for the slips here. So that's also cool. Your experience, and I'm going to do a video about this very specifically next. Your experience is what you experience, not the miles that you travel. And the important part is the experience, and how you experience what you experience, the life you live, is all very much tied into these things. Like, where's your marina? What do you do? This is a fantastic marina to get into fishing on. There's a lot of people who have boats here, recreational boats, who are working fishermen. There's a lot of recreational and commercial fishing right out here. There's a lot of crab pots on the docks. There's a lot of oyster beds under the docks. People grow their own oysters here. There's a lot of stuff to do. It's really fantastic. At the same time, there's no sailing schools here. There's no sailing clubs here. There's no groups of people who sail here, because there's just, if you're on a sailboat and you're going slow and taking it easy, you're an hour and a half to the Potomac. And if you're going pretty hard, you might cut that down to 45 minutes, and you can get your sails up in 35 minutes. But you're not racing around the pins. You're not going to a marker. You're not racing out of the docks. You got to go quite a ways to get to comfortable sailing. Very narrow channels, very shallow banks. Most of the water that you see out here is actually only 1 to 3 feet deep at slack, at low tide, and the tide range here is only like 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet. And so you don't get very deep. There's not a lot of places to go. There's not a lot of places to sail out here. There's not a lot of places to practice lunch anchoring. There aren't. There's a couple anchorages nearby where you could theoretically drop a hook and practice, but there's not a lot of places to stay, even for lunch or overnight or whatever. So, it's an interesting place. It's definitely more of a motorboat paradise. There's plenty of sailboats here at the dock, and plenty of them go out. And the larger sailboats have an easier time. I'm sitting right next to a 50-footer that one of my friends owns, and his waterline length is double mine on the smaller boat. And that means his hull speed is just way, way bigger. He'll take off and motor out at 7 knots. And if I'm idling, if I'm not pushing the little outboard, I'm motoring out at 3.5. So for him, getting out into the river is just not that big a deal. It's going to take him 20 minutes, and he's out in the Potomac estuary, bottom of the Chesapeake Bay. So these things matter. The hull speed matters. Bigger, longer boats, more water line for sailboats. I don't want to maintain a 50-footer, so that's not what we're doing. Your environment has an effect, and you work with your environment, and it informs a lot of your decisions. A lot of people here with sailboats will also, who keep sailboats here, will also have a power boat on a trailer. And I don't mean just a dinghy. I mean like 14-foot, 20-foot power boat. And they'll take it around, Because if you've got a small powerboat and you're willing to go for a little bit and handle a little bit of chop or watch your weather window, there is stuff within an hour, 2 hours when you're going 30 miles an hour that's plenty of fun to do. You know, you can day trip down to, well, you're going to overnight, but you can overnight to Norfolk on a powerboat, and it's not that big a deal, you know. Doing it on a 14-footer, questionable. Just going to say that right there, questionable. But if you're on a Grady White overnighter, you know, a 20-footer with a cuddy cabin, more power to you. Go have fun, you know, burn that gas. It's not that big a fuel bill. You're not pushing a 50-foot main ship or something, so have fun. And that's just one of the things that's part of the deal with being out here. The slips and storage are cheap enough that you can go ahead and do that if you want a simple boat. We're considering it, you know, if we're going to continue to home port here extensively. You know, we're looking at a 3-month cruising season down south for winter, but still coming back. What are we going to do when we come back? A little power boat. You know, there's some sense to that. I do want to get to the experience video, so we'll do that next. This is just your morning coffee. You know, we're hanging out with our seagull friend. There he is, right up there. He's just enjoying the weather and the wind, the morning breeze. Having a little coffee. And think about that, you know. Think about the different impulses and things that come with your environment. If you live aboard in a rural area, you're going to drive more. And you may want a second power boat, or a second boat, third boat, whatever. That's power boat to go places, you know. Keep it small, keep it fuel efficient, and it could be a lot of fun. And if you're in an urban area, you're going to have to worry more about crime. That's just how docks are. So, anyway, stay sideways and enjoy your coffee.